Welcome back, everyone, to LCS Challengers. We want to give a quick shout out before we do get onto the topic of the matchup. You see the colors right behind me. You see the colors on Mad Magical right here. June is Pride Month, but support for them does not end on July 1st. Many of our members, staff, observers, producers, even casters are LGBT. They are family, they are our friends, and we want to protect them. If you want to show some support, Team Fish Taco are doing a little sale of these stickers that are just absolutely adorable. It's their logo with different types of pride flags on it. 100% of the proceeds do go to the Trevor Project, with Team Fish Taco matching 50% of sales to also donate to the Trevor Project. So sure to show your support in any way you can. Now we can move on to the matchup, because this had some sweat on my brow when it started to flip around, but you know, Fear, we're able for the most part to keep it steady, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple flubs here in the mid-game as they really end up going for a lot of these skirmishes, but it definitely feels as though Cincinnati Fear are trying to make some plays happen that are a bit more aggressive. This one was one of the ones that went really well. Now, I don't know if Minui needed to flash ultimate there, but...
it's the Cincinnati special.
The Cincinnati special.
Yeah.
Flash forward on the Seraphine. You know, it is only an aggressive spell, right?
Yes, Flash is only offensive summoner. Yeah. I agree.
This is the big blunder, right? Coming through from Cincinnati Fear, they line up for a fight around the dragon and then forget to put all their pieces on the board. A couple people still not around, and they show up towards the end of the fight after it has already been decided. But this is one of those moments, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a really big Seraphine player. I'm probably the only person in the world who thinks that Seraphine is a fun champion to play. And this is where I find those, this is where I find those spots where it's like, guys, you might have forgotten. You decided to give me Seraphine. You elected me as the main character of this game. Play to me. Don't play around the side lanes. We need to make sure that Seraphine is strong, and they end up remembering that for this fight, which basically breaks the camel's back, right? Darkwing's going for a crazy flank, but Minui able to once again find a pocket of safety.
Alex, you got anything to add to this one?
I mean, that was a nice buffer from the Charm with Minui as well. He started buffering it, literally the fraction of a second he saw Darkwings and the trajectory he was going, so that way he could get the maximum amount of range with it still going towards the entirety of AOE.
I also have to praise Minui a little bit as a small Seraphine thing, right? The only time you should ever watch a Seraphine press a single W instead of getting the double W off is when it exactly saves somebody's life. Minui actually did that
so many times.
All this game. Right, well, no, pressing the single W. He actually did it the right time. He was able to keep Philip alive.
I thought you were talking about how many times he saved his team.
Oh, no, I mean, you just press W, like double W all the time, and you just win the game, and Seraphine is awesome.
Exactly.
Like, the way that he was able to break that rule and still come out ahead of it anyway, great stuff.
What a welcome back for Mad Magical, by the way, to get that last clip being a pentakill when you've just had to deal with all those flights.
I'm so tired. I am so tired. You don't understand how tired I am. I'm so tired.
He still brought the energy, brother, and just a little bit left in the tank, hopefully, because we got a Rally Cry halftime show to get into. This is going to be a Desarook special. Let's bring up the board. It is champ or chump. Which one are you? Now, rules are going to be simple. I'm going to show you 4 pictures that are from the players that they've used to describe their champions. Each one is going to be just a royalty-free stock photo. You're going to have to guess what the champion is. And then you will get a bonus point if you can guess the player who picked that as their favorite champion.
All right.
So wait, we got to guess champ and then also the player.
Afterwards, the player for the bonus point. So let's get into this right now. I'm going to start putting pictures up.
Oh, what?
All right, we already got one. You can start brainstorming. You can start thinking.
Okay. Is this competitive or cooperative?
This is competitive.
Okay.
You guys are always against each other.
Well.
Okay. I feel like that.
Second pitcher has arrived.
A sword?
Sword. So two players playing.
2 people and a sword.
Sword. Could be Viego.
Maybe.
Next picture.
Definitely could be Viego. Viego's kind of like. I'm feeling like it's Viego.
I think I know. I think it's Master Yi, actually.
Okay, wait for it. Wait for it. You got one more picture.
Let's see.
Another sword? Wait, what? 2 swords?
2 swords.
Yone.
Oh, yeah, it's Yone.
Yeah,
Soul Inbound. Can I guess who it is?
Who is it?
Soul.
Soul.
He's not. What? He's not in the game.
He's not in this game, Alex.
Oh, I thought you were just saying player in general in the Challengers League.
No.
No, no.
Halftime
It has
shows
to
are
be-
based on this.
Okay.
I'm
It's
pretty
not serious.
sure. Ooh, I feel like this one is Dark Wings, right? Because he actually had a ban against him this last game.
Okay, Alex, I'll give you a second guess.
Okay, let me just think. Let me just think.
Quick. 5.
I'm gonna go with you,
4,
Philip. I'm gonna go with
3.
Philip.
Both of you are wrong. It'll be
Darn.
just 1 point
Shochi?
to Josh.
Shochi.
Shochi.
Yeah. He's a weep, after all.
That was my backup. That was literally like it's either Philip or Shochi. I couldn't think
Yeah.
who it was.
Self-described anime protagonist, so, it
Yep.
makes sense.
All right. Here comes our next one. First picture. Now up. Tell me what you see.
Beyblade. Garen Concept. It's Garen Concept.
Eh.
What?
Comes another.
Oh,
Stab?
Katarina.
Okay, spinning
Yeah.
and stabbing.
We have a ding, ding, ding.
It's Katarina. That's the only other thing it could
Wow.
be. Katarina. Wait, who is it?
Who actually
That
plays
be-
Katarina?
Yeah, it's like
XU's not in here.
yeah, Xu's not in here. So I would have to assume that it would be Darkwings then.
Ding, ding, ding. Number 2, magical. You've
Yeah.
coming back.
All
It
right.
is, in fact, Darkwings' his favorite champion.
My internet might not be, but at least my brain is.
Woo!
Yeah. A little bit of trouble, but it's all right. At least you're clutching it out to try and at least beat Magical. Beat Joshi in the majority of these halftime shows.
True.
I'm always on board for that. Now here comes our next one.
Echo?
Not here.
Glasses.
Okay, show us the next one.
Ghost? Whoa. This is trippy. It feels like a
Yorick?
rival.
What could it be?
Soul?
Soul.
Thresh?
Soul.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ah, nice. Nice.
Oh. Okay.
Nice.
I'm gonna guess that this is JJ.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
Dude,
let's go.
it
Nice,
is
nice.
in
Now, okay.
fact
I have to
JJ.
ask, what is the first photo?
Yeah, I can't
What's the
figure out
first
the
photo?
first photo
I
either.
don't even know the
Okay,
first photo
so
is.
he
Like,
told me the
everyone's
word
like it.
glowy. He told me the word glowy.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, honestly, like the other ones make sense, but that one does not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I just throw it into the stock photo thing.
Just see what
search.
comes up, you know?
Okay.
I
See what
understand.
comes up.
All right. Let's get
All
to the
right.
next one. I need to bounce back.
All right. Can you bounce back? I'm going to throw these pictures up a little bit more rapid, all right?
Okay.
Because I feel like you're going to guess this pretty quickly. So get ready.
Alistar.
Alistar.
I heard it from Josh first.
It's breezy. Let's go.
Yeah, it's breezy.
So if you want to know what Breezy told me,
Cow, 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 cow.
no, moo, 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 moo.
Nice.
That is
nice.
what Breezy told me. Just moo
Ah,
4 times.
That's unfortunate. I was so
That
close on that
is-
one. All right.
There you go.
There you go,
Ha-ha.
Nicely done.
There we go. Cow, 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 cow. Moo, moo, moo,
Beautiful
moo.
picture. Beautiful picture.
That's how you
Okay.
know it's a Maryville fan, too. That's what they type in chat. Moo, 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 moo.
All right, we true. We
Right.
got the next one coming up right now. Final one. If you can guess it already, it's Josh holding a strong lead right now. Alex, you got to come back.
I don't think it's possible.
What is that?
What is that? I can't actually see that.
Pinata?
It's a pinata. You're hitting a pinata. Fiora?
Dog? Nasus?
Wrong.
No, not Nasus.
Trying to
Dog
figure out if that's dog or...
Dog
Oh,
champ.
This should be
Wukong.
the giveaway. Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Ooh, that's probably
Oh, let
Perry
me
as
show
well.
the final picture. Let me
Yeah, it's
show the
Perry.
final
It's
picture, dude.
definitely Perry. It's definitely Perry.
All right. Your vote is Perry. You are both wrong.
Oh, what?
It is Philip.
Really?
Wow.
Damn. That's a throwback. I haven't seen him play this
Oh
character
God,
in so
that's
long.
right. That was his OTP.
Yeah.
That was
That was
that's
a
when
lethality
he started.
character.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's been a long time since we've seen the top lane Wukong.
There you go. Coming
right, well-
through.
That pretty much just sums it up. Josh gets our final point.
Woo!
Good job, Josh. Good job.
I'm the champ.
See right there.
You're-
6 points
I'm the
going over to
chump.
Josh. 2 points to Mad
I'm the chump.
Magical.
My brain's not online right now. It's in sleep mode, but my body's not there yet.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out if that dog with a really big stick was that the dog or the stick that I'm supposed to
It
be
was the
paying
stick.
attention
It was the
to.
stick.
Yeah. As soon as the monkey came through, you know.
Yeah, the
I think we're
monkey.
okay.
Oh,
So-
the monkey. I'm like, okay, either you're saying you play like a monkey or it is a monkey. So I was trying to figure that out.
I should say what some of these words were that they gave me.
Yeah, Gloy was probably the hardest one.
Let me pull this one up. This was brother, sword, spirit, sword.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was wondering, is it just 2 swords?
Yeah, I was wondering the 2 swords too.
Yeah.
I was confused on that one.
First one's
then-
brother. Wait, what's they said the third one? Meditate?
No, soul.
Oh, okay.
Oh, spirit. I mean spirit. Sorry.
Spirit. Because that's
Oops.
definitely the one where I was like, meditate? Okay, that's Master Yi. That makes sense to me.
This
And
one
that's
was
Katarina.
spin, kill, reset, spin.
Yeah, Katarina.
Oh, that's what
the
it
thing
says.
is,
on
if
the
it wasn't
thing.
Garen, Katarina was my next one. I'm like, all right, it's one of those 2.
Yeah. Really, I was gonna go Wukong next. But
No.
All right, and this one was JJ's. This was glowy, spooky. Oh wait, let me transition. Sorry.
Yeah,
Glowy, spooky, soul, and I think you would have guessed the last one as hook.
Hook.
Fuck, yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Dude, that second one. Have you seen Arrival?
No, I
The,
have not.
sci-fi movie where there's there's the big octopus things that teach us how to speak into the future.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
No.
I like the
All right.
ball. I like the ball, the spin.
Yeah, the ball's the spin. The pinata was actually
That was-
bonk.
Oh,
bonk?
bonk. I would have
Yeah.
never got. Yeah, that clue alone threw me off so bad. I was like, what pinata?
I made sure to put the gorilla coming in late because I knew you guys were going to guess that right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
All right.
He's got to get Harambe, in there somehow.
That does it for the Rally Cry halftime show. Congratulations to Josh. You've taken the series 2-1 against Mad Magical. Congratulations. I guess. Alex,
we
you let me
got
down?
more lore wins, kind of. We were closer on the lore.
All right. Let's take this conversation back into the game at hand because for a moment, AOE was giving us some life, giving us some hope.
Yeah.
We did take advantage of some of the mistakes that Fear made, but that's where the conversation kind of gets weird, right? Because it felt like it was
Not
Fear mostly
weird.
playing against themselves more than AOE.
Yes. I was gonna say it's
taking
not
those wins.
weird. It's just that literally Cincinnati Fear would have had to make the same play 7 more times for AOE to come back into the game.
Yeah.
It's just they had a very difficult composition to really run. They had to play around the early side, top side of prevalently, right out of the get-go. They had to go Ivern, just gank top over and over again, get this Renekton ahead of the Jack so that he could snowball. Same thing mid lane. Didn't see that happen from Will. That meant that the 1v1 top lane, where it was Philip winning out, you couldn't really do much. That Renekton was too far behind, useless, couldn't do anything in the team fight, so it was only the mistakes of Cincinnati Fear that even made it seem like it was competitive.
The big thing that I'm kind of seeing from a lot of teams that the more I see it, the more I have respect for the Team Liquid Challenger squad in particular, is it felt as though Cincinnati Fear, I can't come up with a better way to describe this, kind of got lazy and went on autopilot during the middle of the game, right? And that is one of the big things where you see really good teams really set themselves apart, because they understand that autopilot is the enemy. You always got to be thinking all the time.
Yep.
And if Fear uses those opportunities in the mid game to not back in dangerous places, to make sure that they don't give any opportunities back, they will be able to clean up these games a little bit more cleanly. But you got to make sure you're thinking the entire game.
Now, that's how you get a clean game coming out for Fear, but I want to know for AoE as well, because Darkwings did have some moments. He did have a double kill around the bottom side of the river before, and was flanking decently well. If his team had a better gold lead, there is a reality where AoE do get the better of some of those fights. I mean, are we putting it on Darkwing's shoulders?
No, I'd put it on Will's. I don't want to see the Ivern. It's not a Will champion. It's not something that we're used to seeing from Will. I honestly, it might not be meta, but I would have preferred the Lee Sin. I feel like you would have been able to do far more of what the team's identity already was, which was playing towards the top half of the map.
Yeah, I really agree. I feel like we were missing out on a crucial part of the triumvirate of Will, Darkwings, and Breezy that really need to be able to play aggressive all together. And when Will's playing on the Ivern, yeah, he did a decent job at trying to make sure people are staying alive in the fights, but you're missing out on the people who need to go for these big dives, who need to create these flanks, and you're not going to be out sustaining a Seraphine over the course of these fights.
Someone can take that initiative. I know Breezy has in week number 1. You were very, very high on him at Magical, and I still think for good reason. So would like to see AoE have a different game plan to try and take it to Fear. We are going to throw it over to the draft of game number 2, our final game of the day. Please, please take us away.
That I shall, and
Sounds
I'll
like the
pick
John
up.
Wick Bowery King. Please, someone get this man a gun. Lawrence Fishburne, John Wick.
I know. I'm just very weird. I did not hear that at all.
That's what he sounded like. Come on, I'm sure somebody in Twitch chat feels it.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see about this draft though, because right now, looking at this draft, at AOE, they're taking away that Seraphine. They're just saying, I don't know about that. Not wanting to deal with that again.
Yeah, and this is also going to be Cincinnati Fear's opportunity to try and equalize and tie up Wildcard again, right? Wildcard having dropped 2 games today to Team Liquid Challengers does mean that Cincinnati Fear started the day only 2 games behind and are very close to equalizing as we start getting close to the end of the first round robin. And now, as I already called out, made sure that there's no Seraphine, no Ivern, no Enchanters here for Cincinnati Fear to play with. And that has really been where Cincinnati Fear have looked their best, is when Manui is not oftentimes playing a marksman, but rather when they're playing some kind of mage.
And even looking at Cincinnati Fear taking away the Kindred themselves, because that is something, again, that Will can play, and also would be much more in that wheelhouse of Will, and what we really expect out of him. So when I look at how the draft is going to be into this next game, you look what has kind of been left open that was banned last time. That is here, Aphelios and Garen by Cincinnati Fear, giving the respect over to Concept Wall. It was the Nico, LeBlanc, and Kennen. So there are these viable options that you can go for if you're AoE, and I kind of like this Vi. It felt like that would have been something that I would have much preferred over the Ivern that they had taken last time too.
Yeah, I mean, it was really the #1 thing that we were kind of asking for, right? Like, Will on this Ivern just missing one of the big go buttons, and that has been where AoE has kind of made or breaks their game in a very similar way to actually how they were playing last spring with Winnie, who was this kind of player who was constantly the ones dictating when fights actually started. But Cincinnati Fear going to be picking up the Monkey, Philip's favorite champion, probably going to parry though, and the Rel also being grabbed here for JJ. Lots of good tools coming out for Cincinnati Fear to control a lot of these fights. And yes, Breeze is going back onto one of his favorite characters on the Alistair, but we got to see that it was nowhere near as effective last game because it didn't have the damage to punch through everything up your head.
Exactly. I was about to say, I don't feel like it was on Breezy so much. It was just not having enough damage from the other parts of the map. So having that back for Breezy with Will on something that can provide a lot more of that damage as well as in Cage, I do like this more. But I kind of want to go back to the point I'm talking about Perry with this Wukong. Because back in spring, it was his most played champion. In fact, he had such a high win rate on this champion. When it came to playoffs, it was permanently banned away from Cincinnati Fear. He couldn't ever touch that. And that is a fun pick right there, because you talked about it was Seraphine and Ziggs that Manui was known for.
And this is definitely an interesting pickup this early into the draft, right? Because it is very attackable by Vi in particular. The one thing that the Ziggs will always be able to do, though, is it will always be able to throw out an ultimate, which I say this and I get a lot of weird looks. Ziggs is actually a dive champion, right? Ziggs is the kind of character where you throw the ultimate, you center on the enemy AD carry, and they either flash or they take a minimum of 800 damage later on in the game. And that just means that you only need one other player to try and dive onto these different marksmen. And so Manui will be creating a lot of backline threat up against AoE, regardless of how effectively AoE will be able to try and attack him in these team fights. And so Cincinnati Fear, they just need to make sure that they can build up a spot where AoE is not able to overpower the front line that Cincinnati Fear has already drafted.
Well, I think that's going to be the big thing for AoE. You have this Alistair, you have this Vi. Ziggs, very attackable. Something that you can look to put behind early into the game to make him feel like he is useless, so he can't utilize that full dive. Because, well, he doesn't dive. He sets up dives perfectly, and when you have a Rel and Wukong on your side, that is perfect to dive all these turrets all the time.
And as we start looking at this, one of the things that Cincinnati Fear has done as well, right, is you just run around different turrets, you blow them up, and we got to see how rapidly accelerated the Ziggs can be. As we see Philip, almost definitely Philip, locking into Cassante up in the top side. You have a very powerful front line coming out for Cincinnati Fear. And they're also, I mean, both teams are fairly color coordinated, which I always have to appreciate.
Getting pretty similar on their color coordination. The red and gold over on Cincinnati Fear, and it's more like the purples and reds. Yeah, continuing that actually.
Yeah, you know. Oh, okay. Well, definitely continuing it. But
it's got some purple and gold in there.
Yeah. You know, you got different gradients coming through, but lots of yellows, lots of reds, some purples coming through on both sides, and this is Darkwing's most played champion. But as we kind of called out, I haven't been particularly impressed with the way that Darkwings has been piloting this champion recently. He had a lot of highlights in spring, but they were highlights, right? They were big moments where they had great fights, not necessarily the consistency on this champion that we were really looking to, really needed to see.
And then we round out the draft for AoE with that Renekton. Concept didn't look too good in that last game with that champion. wasn't necessarily the best performing out of all the champions that they could have had there. So looking at what Fear want to get, that Cassante technically could be flexed. Same with the Ziggs, you could flex that if you really want to. As Fear are kind of like, hey, you know, we could do this, we could do that. And I'm expecting that, oh.
Whoa.
Is that going to be a top lane AP Varus?
I would be surprised. I'd be very surprised. I'm pretty confident that this is Manui's Varus.
Aww. And that means we don't get Manui Ziggs.
True, but that does mean we get Shochi Ziggs, and the Ziggs is really hard for Azir to punish early on, just because Azir's mana costs are really, really high early on in the game. And while Ziggs has high mana costs as well, 3 Qs will clear the backline at level 1. 3 Qs will kill the backline at level 2, and there's a lot of opportunities, but oh, this is forgotten tech that a lot of people have not remembered
Mid-lane
recently.
AP Varus, that could be it. I mean, I was talking about the AP Varus top lane, you know, Cassante could go mid lane, but mid lane is actually like the legitimate one. That's like where you can actually go for it.
And one of the big things about AP Varus and even Lethality Varus, which you can also see in the mid lane, is that it actually does really well into Azir, because the entire idea is you will burst them and do chip damage to them at ranges that Azir cannot interact with. And based on what we got, Shochi with the Hail of Blades,
probably going to be
still,
AP.
Yeah, still more likely to be the Static Shiv, Nashor's, Riftmaker style of Varus, but you will have a lot of these auto attacks. You can trade with the Hail of Blades super effectively, and it's not easy for Dark Queens to dodge out on the Hail of Arrows.
No, and that's why I do like this adaptation from Cincinnati Fear. And seeing Shochi, you love to show off these different styles, right? When you think back to spring, you know, he was playing the Tristana before it was cool, Tryndamere before it was cool, playing a lot of these champions that no one else would really expect. So here, pulling out that AP Varus, the tech you talked about, that is the old school when you think back to Varus. Not when he was the first time he was meta, but kind of like Season 4, right around there.
Yeah. And as we start taking a look more at this is going to be another opportunity for Cincinnati Fear to kind of go for a lot of these front-to-back team fights that earned them wins earlier on in the day. And now, I really want to watch how Will is going to be navigating this game, because going up against Perry, one of the things that we have seen coming out from Perry in particular is his growth as a shot caller and as a mechanical player. It is one of the things that he really wanted to work on between 2022 and 2023, and now that they've lost Trevor and a lot more of the shot calling burden has been placed upon Perry, he's actually been stepping up quite a bit.
We have seen that he's done a great job with it too. I feel like he's been growing a lot. That was part of the growing pains, going from spring to summer, right, Josh? It's one of those things that he has been learning, but he has been adapting very fast on the fly in order to feel like he is kind of that captain for the team.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that having spotted out Will on the top half of the team, both Shochi and Manui are pretty free to move around, and Perry even coming around to try and take the Grump.
Yeah, Smite, so he can take that away pretty easily. Yep. Grabs up a camp away from Will, and Will's like, all right, not much I can do for that because mid lane's got priority.
Yeah, and now going over to the Wolves as well. This is going to be 2 camps taken away, and more importantly, a lot of time that Will's going to have to spend traversing Summoner's Rift in order to get to the bottom half of the map. This creates a ton of safety, right? By putting Will in a position this far back, it means that Manui and JJ can kind of do what they want with the wave for a while, and Perry already going for a recall, going to be on the bottom half of the map very soon to protect his bottom half.
Right, grab that Scuttle Crab, contest that, have priority in those 2 lanes that you were talking about, mid and bot lane. The only one that is going to be slowly pushing back towards AoE will be this top lane as Philip. It's Cassante early on into the game. He's going to be fine with not really interacting with the Renekton too much.
He definitely has a lot of opportunities to be a big diving champion later on, and can also work as that tank. And so Fear, I love this play and this read coming out from Perry as he creates pressure on the top half of the map to make sure that Philip is not under any threat, and pushes Will towards the bottom half, so Perry can match that super easily. Already throwing out some vision so they can see Will if he tries to go for anything cheeky down here in the bottom side of the map, and Darkwing is a player with some push, but not going to get deep enough vision to actually know if Perry's going for a counter pick.
No, and the fact that Perry's taking these wolves, even with Will, on a little bit of a journey to try to get a bit of control over Perry, it's not really like you're gaining too much. You got a little bit of pushback as the state of the waves did crash back towards Cincinnati Fear and did allow Will to grab that Scuttle Crab. But look at how Perry's now positioning. He's looking to see if he can contest around the top half of the map. He has a lot of his own jungle he still has to clear.
Yeah, and as he picks that up, yeah, we do see Concept being a little bit more aggressive and trying to see if Perry is going to show up on the Krugs, but Philip is, you know, still around even though he's at half HP. His resistance to burst is quite good. If he presses
like
W.
Right yeah, it didn't even need to. Just got a little bit of a shield, and he's like, all right, I'm cool. I'm cool. This is cool. All's good in the hood.
Yeah. So far, we are seeing the Darkwings doing a good job at playing the, I love to call it the wiggle, right? The movement back and forth between the two range champions to try and get damage back and forth, consistently putting Shochi on spots where the soldiers will be able to auto attack as Shochi walks away. And so, got a bit of a health advantage, and he is already navigating this lane in a way that is putting this Bard in an uncomfortable spot.
Ooh, Lynx, though. Speaking of uncomfortable spots, very uncomfortable spot. Flashing away, but burning to ignite. Tick, tick. Healing up just enough.
Yeah, Breezy coming through with a clutch heal. Uh-oh.
Concept, Philip, they were ready to skirmish. I feel like Concept was barely outside of turret aggro.
And there's a spot there, yeah. Philip, if he had flashed with the W, might have been able to pick up that kill. Not willing to risk it. Maybe had it on cooldown either way, but still a couple of close calls across the board. Now Perry hanging out on the top side.
Trying to bait in Concept. The Concept not falling for it. He is level 6. He popped the dominance, but he spotted out Perry there. He's like, all right, I can't go for this dive anymore.
Yeah, very tempered play coming out from both sides of the map, and good job from Breezy to save this wave here for his AD carry and hold it. So now Manui will have to move down to the bottom side and throw out a couple of extra spells to make sure that it crashes, but it also gives time for JJ, knowing that Breezy is going to be slow on the recall, to move around the map and potentially get some vision and even look for speculative ganks.
I'm curious to see when we really see these junglers actually make their mark on the map. So at the moment, it kind of feels like they're just both power farming to level 6, which is a little uncharacteristic of each of them. Both of them are pretty known for how they like to skirmish, especially looking over at Will and his early game plays. Right now, it's more on the lanes and how the lane states are going, because you can see there's ult for ult in the top lane. Mid lane, Darkwings woes for the Shurima Shuffle, but right into Will, and that's what I was asking for. Whoa. When do they finally strike? It looks like it's going to be mid lane, getting the kill. Shochi trying to run away, but Perry could scare them. Will is taking a lot of damage for that, though. The snipe there, but the knockback Breezy keeping Will alive.
Manui coming in here to the mid lane, should be able to crash this wave, but wow, some great skirmishing coming out from AOE yet again. No one on Fear able to finalize any of those kills. And AOE coming out with a small lead right off the bat, because Manui moving up to the mid lane leaves another way for Lynx just to crash down to the bottom lane.
Yeah, because they had to send them mid lane, so that way it wasn't going to be the play back at them again, and they lose even more, because JJ, he died in the fight. He was picked up by Darkwings, because Darkwings did the alley-oop scoop right over to Will, and Will's like, alley-oop dunk!
Yeah. I do want to praise Perry a little bit for that fight, for using the clone and his body to guarantee that Shochi was able to walk out of the fight, trying to block both avenues for Will to either go forward or go backwards, knowing he has the HP to do that. But still, Cincinnati Fear, it's not as though they are under a ton of pressure just quite yet, but the fact that Concept is getting the better of Philip up here on the top side as well gives AOE another point of power to play around.
A reversal of fates of the top lane. It's kind of the duality of Renekton, right? Renekton giveth, he has the early game power and he looks really good, or he taketh and he's just a stun bot.
So, I mean, with having this Renekton on the field, right, the truism for a long time was you have Renekton, you get to play for the Rift Herald without a whole lot of contest, and you are seeing pings already coming out from AoE to go for that, but it is being traded for the Dragon on the far side.
Which is a smart call from Fear. They know they can't contest that Rift Herald take on the top half. Might as well get a neutral objective, especially because the spot lane, when you have a Ziggs lane, you're always going to get innate prio. It's kind of like having a Tristana lane, right? You're just always going to push just passively.
Exactly. And so we will see whether or not Fear is able to chain some of these together. One of the things that will be fascinating to watch is whenever you do have the static Shiv and the AP viruses, it's not as much of a DPS champion unless you can get that first kill. It's not to the same level as something like a Jinx, right? Where you get the reset and suddenly you're, you know, OP bonkers. Ooh. But you still get the extra attack speed every time you get a kill.
Okay. We're having a lot of skirmish. Just 2v2. A lot more volatile than I expected as JJ taking a lot of damage. And Perry wants to go for that dive, especially because Lynx does not have that Featherstorm anymore. But diving in Alistar is so hairy.
Yeah, and the rest of Cincinnati Fury are going to be backing away. They will clear out the wave, and Breezy probably going to reprise his role as making sure this wave doesn't actually crash. Overall, though, it has been interesting, right? Oh.
Nah, just
Great.
a little bit. Just a little tussle there. No dominance for Concept, so no true kill pressure onto Philip.
Yeah. I did want to say, though, it has been interesting to watch AOE because the formula that they had for success in Week 1 hasn't really been recreated. And they played up against Wildcard, Supernova, and Evil Geniuses. They got some dominant wins, in particular up against Supernova and Wildcard. But ever since then, right, it's been a little all over the place. I only got one win over Disguise last week, and so far they are favored to win this one, but I wouldn't even say it's by a large margin, just based on how these two teams have interacted so far today.
Well, let's see. We're getting another alley-oop scoop, but the body block there doesn't really help out Shochi. He had nowhere to go, but into the grave as Perry uses the Cyclone and realizes how much danger he's in as well. AOE, they clean up mid lane.
And guess who it is? It's the same three coming through. Will, Breezy, Darkwings, ready to make fights happen as a core. Link's Concept over on the side lanes, making sure they can get farm, but this is the core that has gotten them so many tools. And now they're going to be dropping the Rift Herald as well. 3 kills already picked up by Darkwings, effectively giving him another one as we see this fight coming through. But Cincinnati Fear, just as we were seeing before, a little bit slower to the play than what we were seeing from AOE, as they are just so much faster at pulling the trigger.
And for it, they get not only the 3 kills, but dropping down the Rift Herald in mid lane. Did they actually get the full turret? I don't think they got the full turret.
No,
right?
no. You just
Okay,
have a
3
bar
plates.
standing
3
over.
plates. Okay, cool. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. I'm like, with an Azir, it is very deceptive how much you can get.
Yeah. But it's also worth noting that like the plates are absolutely bonkers, and when you have that many people, you get so much extra resistances. But still, Darkwing's preying on the fact that Shochi completely immobile on this Varus, and I was a little bit worried about Darkwing's playing this Azir just because it has been one of the champions where he has not had the greatest performances throughout most of Summer Split. But
Yeah,
so
not
far,
not a plate. Yeah, not a plate.
he's set up to carry.
And the thing is, like you're saying, lately he hasn't been the best on the champion. But historically, it is his most played champion, and it is something that he has played very well on. I think Eric even talked about it. He has something like a 6 kills per game record on playing Azir, and that's over like 30 games. That's pretty nuts numbers.
It is worth noting that of the 2 Azir games he has played this summer, he has kills in both of those games, right? That's not something we can say for all the other characters. We've seen this Annie experiment come through from AOE, and it has not looked great. We saw him bring up the Swain last week as well. But on Azir, you know, that was it was their only win last week. Now as we start setting up again, it is AOE in control of the area around the dragon. They have more gold kind of across the board. Basically everybody on the side of AOE except for Lynx should be ahead of their opponents, and this is a cool dive.
Well, and Lynx is also in a great position anyway. Shochi realizing how that was a lot committed for him, and they're continuing the play. They're really looking for Shochi. They do not want to let him escape too easily with an Ignite ticket too. Cool guys don't look at explosions. They walk out of that one easily.
And great stuff coming through from AOE. They get the flash, they get the teleport out of Shochi, and they should have a lot of buttons by the time the dragon spawns.
Cyclone, and that's going to be a big bomb there. Might have to sacrifice Will for the play. The dive, very greedy there from AOE.
I don't know. I really liked it. I think it was a great idea. It was just unfortunate that we saw Breezy getting caught out by the ultimate, and Will losing a little bit too much time as he gets caught by the second part of the Chains of Corruption. Still, Lynx on the sideline farming up a Storm. This was something that we saw from AOE when they were playing with Winnie and Skytech as well, getting plates, getting farm on the sides while the rest of the team was going for these major plays. But as we start looking towards the next dragon, AOE are coming at it with a big gold lead, and both Darkwings and Lynx coming out with an entire item.
And I'm glad you talked about that, because Lynx, that has kind of been his identity. He is the team fight 80 carry. That has always been their fallback. Relying on Lynx, especially when we look at the promotion tournament, because that's where the Jinx meta was really all the rage, and it seemed to just fit how Lynx wants to play the game. farm up to a certain point, get 3 items, like, all right, now I want to fight. This is when I feel the most powerful. The top lane is going to have it all out there from Philip with the dominance coming in from Concept as well. All the while, Perry and Will, they're fighting inside of their own jungle, but unfortunately, Will just was a little too late to the party top.
Yeah, I mean, just too many friends coming up for Cincinnati Fear. They were winning a lot of even to overman fights last game, but AOE were able to take way too many where they had extra players. And now this should be stopping a lot of what it is that AOE are looking to do around the dragon. They're starting to ping towards it, but Cincinnati Fear are going to be there in time.
Yeah, Cincinnati Fear, they're back up on the map. Should be able to move pretty quickly towards that bot side. Will might start it up, especially because mid and bot are both heavily prioed towards AOE, and mid lane almost even falling to Lynx. Had it not been for his Ziggs, very hard lane to actually crack a turret against. Probably would have fallen, but bot lane surely will.
Yeah, and this is going to be first break going over to Dark Wings, finding even more money for the already fed Azir. And Cincinnati Fear not going to be trying to contest the dragon whatsoever, as they will instead be picking up the Rift Herald. And I love this from Breezy, looking to try and dive Shochi again. He has no flash.
Guess who's here? It's Will too. They got the Shurima Shuffle, the alley-oop scoop. It works every single time.
And it's the same three. It's the same 3 players, right? This has been the thing that's been fascinating to watch about AOE is in their wins, it is these 3 players who have a ton of KP. And Lynx and Concept oftentimes very low, not necessarily because they're not playing the game, but just because it is these 3 players who are constantly linking up. Lynx getting very passively fed because he has so much time in lanes to farm.
Yeah, like, look at the gold. A lot of that gold has been funneled into Dark Wings, but Lynx is not that far behind him, and he hasn't been involved in nothing.
Yeah. I'm actually looking through a couple of their wins so far, as now it is AOE in a dominating position in this game. They're 2 players that really need to be strong in the buy, and the Azir are already very strong, and now it is Cincinnati Fear. We're trying to get a little bit back, as this mid lane turret should fall.
Should fall, and that's one thing with Cincinnati Fear that we even saw back in spring. This is a team that just they don't give up. Doesn't matter how far behind they fall, they'll always look for plays consistently, and that's something I love about this team and why a lot of people became fans of them over the course of spring. Is you just see this team of friends that are scrappy, willing to pull the trigger and go for these insane plays where, yeah, they're not always going to work. Even if you're behind 4,000 gold, at least they're looking for it, right?
Yeah. And the other thing that I remember hearing is like, while I'm not as familiar with the story of how Philip actually joined Cincinnati Fear, I do know that JJ was one of those other players that just had the power of friendship of joining them, because it was just Perry's like, hey JJ, you want to play? And JJ was like, okay,
yeah,
let's do it. Right? They're just a couple of buddies.
Exactly, and that's what I love about Fear. They were like that before. They were a team that had gotten offers. A lot of the members had gotten offers to play for different professional teams, but like, I want to be with this core. I want to be with this team. And that's why they played together in the spring and were one of our, actually, we're our best performing professional team out of all of them.
Yeah. And now, trying to reclaim that mantle. We will get to see a little bit more of that from this squad later in the week. They will be going up against, they will be going up against Disguised and Wildcard, the other major team that we were looking at to have a big impact on the way that the league is played, just because they were the 2 best professional teams. They both have new AD, both new supports and top lanes, and now we see the Hive top lane.
It's the trio of Will, Dark Wings, Breezy on the top half of the map. They were threatening that dive. They had even called up a new member of the crew. Lynx was nearby just in case they wanted to commit for that one. And I kind of want to just switch the narrative over to AOE for a bit, because this is a team that has been struggling. 1-5 last week. I think the last series that they played in week 1 as well was an 0-2. So it has been quite a rough start for them in this split. But looking at games like this is where why we always talk about them for their early game prowess and how they're able to play. You were talking about it, Josh. Will, Dark Wings, and Breezy, where before it was Winnie, Dark Wings, and Skytech, but it still feels like it's that same kind of identity that AOE has stuck to regardless of players.
Yeah. Now, with Harry, he's going to be taking away some of his camps, but the AOE game plan you know, it's okay if they stall out a little bit, right? Manui has not had the opportunity to go lane to lane, press W on turrets to blow open the game just quite yet, and get really fed kind of out of nowhere as Ziggs are wont to do. But now it is going to be a spot where, as long as AOE continue to play reasonably aggressive and dictate fights, they have the scaling power in Azir. They have the scaling Xayah as well to go for these fights, and they're going to be giving even more money over to Darkwings on the Big Bird.
Yeah, take another turret. It's going to be the last of the tier 1s, toppled by AOE. More gold. They're nearly 5,000 gold up Fear. We're about to get to that 20-minute mark, and while the game has stalled out, like you said, it doesn't matter for AOE if the game stalls out. You still got a Xayah and Azir on your team.
Yeah. They definitely have plenty of tools to continue fighting, but Darkwings has to be a little bit careful. Will get out, and with a minute left until the next dragon. The big thing I'll be looking at is, what does Shochi do before the dragon actually spawns? Because this is the character where you have the most wildcard opportunities to go for things, right? You can just absolutely blow
like
up
this?
a single member, but you gotta try and catch them.
I wish he had not spotted him, you know, come out there to try to clear out the wave, because I feel like they could have set up the classic. They could have gone for the Cincinnati special, but right there, that was not the Cincinnati special.
Yeah, unfortunately, as soon as the Luden's Tempest actually goes off and showcases there are people in the bush, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're not whacking up there. It is a trade of flashes. But AOE, they still have a ton of vision control around, and look how much time Harry has spent in this single bush.
Oh, and it's a trade up for AOE, because that's an Azir. Azir can screw him a shuffle. He's got a lot of mobility to you, and you're a Varus. You don't got that. That's why the Magnus completely denied, though. But they still get the blow on the count, the kill on Azir. But look at Perry and how low he is. Lynx cutting it back. He's taken down. Concept flashing forward. Will take the monkey. It is going to be 1, but now he's in the middle of 4. Well, his team cannot defend him. Fear, they strike back.
And Barry is paid off for all of his patience just sitting there in the one brush. You get the double teleport coming out from the rest of the team. As soon as the fight actually starts, Fear know they need to go all out for the fight. They find it there, and now, I mean, it's not the game turning around, but it gives them a lot of hope, just the way that they're willing to go for things, because there's no way AOE are ready for Perry in this fight, even though the ultimate goes off, knocking him back away. Darkwing is the majority of his team's damage, and look at this, Link's left all alone, no help, not a care in the world. They end up picking him off, and the only person left being Concept can do nothing. He gets all outed right on back.
Exactly, just like, where are you going? Come back here. So picking up 3 kills, only trading the 1 kill on Wukong. That is a big trade up for everyone on Cincinnati Fear, pretty much getting a little bit of the action. So now they're getting those 2 item spikes. You got that Rift Maker now for the AP Varus mid lane with the static shifts, and his wave clear is going to be even worse, and his ability to pop you even stronger.
And as we start looking at how Manui is going to be playing out these fights, remember, they left him in a couple of awkward situations in Game 1 that AOE were able to pounce on to put themselves in a better position. But this time around, Cincinnati Fear, they're going for the dragon. It is looking to be uncontested and trying to make a fight happen in the mid lane at the same time.
Yeah, Perry not there. Not a part of this one. I'm surprised AOE not really wanting to look for that. Maybe a little bit worried after that last fight didn't go so well. It does feel that for AOE, for these fights to work, it has to be them engaging. They cannot let JJ dictate the pace of the game or how the fights are going to start.
Yeah. We do see a trade of ultimates coming through from Shochi and Lynx in that last fight, but look at this. Darkwing's down to the bottom side of the map. Doesn't need Static Shiv to just be hitting the structure all by himself, because there's been no response coming out from Cincinnati Fear. And even though Shochi is here now, it's like, you know, he'll be able to clear waves, but he has no ultimate to actually threaten Darkwings.
Exactly, and that turret was full health not too long ago. Taken down so low. That's why JJ kind of hanging out in the wings just in case they try to go for that dive like they had done so many times to Shochi during this game.
This is going to be my big challenge for Darkwings, right? You had so many opportunities to be aggressive early on. Got to make sure he does not go down. And this is one of the things that we have been watching with Darkwings is I want to see him hold his Shuriken Shuffle for the right time, right? He's oftentimes in a lot of these engages gone for it almost right away, which has worked out so far because you're going for, you know, characters like Shochi's Vars who do not have a lot of mobility. But this is a game where you need to be valuing your life a whole lot more than trying to kill Shochi and Manui as Darkwings on this Azir.
Because to me, it feels like this game is really not about Shochi. Even though we were setting that up in the pre-show, we were looking at how he was. That Ari game that he had, that was the Shochi show. This game, it's about Manui and Perry, setting up them to be the carries. You have this AP Varus more to set up and maybe pop one person, as well as wave clear. That's your big utilization there of the mid Varus. Right now, Breezy is going to be forced to ult, taking up a lot of damage, but he's pulled back in. He cannot escape from this one. He will be made into mincemeat. It just took a while for the shutdown goal to be picked up by Shochi.
Yeah, and it felt like it could have been a really good fight for AOE. They had both Lynx and Darkwings hitting from potentially over different walls, but now it is AOE turning around, gonna have to try and stop the Baron, and the damage that Manui can do to keep everybody else out of the fight is ridiculous.
The one thing is that Concept did not have TP up until a couple of seconds ago. So it would have been really risky for them to look for the fight, but then you just lose your Alistar, right? There's a catch-22 situation as you are in the pit, and AOE, it's JJ that is starting up these fights, and I talked about that before. You cannot let JJ dictate the pace of this game if you're AOE.
Another thing that we were seeing, right, neither Manui nor Shochi were actually hitting the Baron for about half that threat and take. If you're going to be hitting the Baron, you need to actually be threatening to take it. Otherwise, AOE don't have to walk in, and AOE able to get out of that one. And so we have to look towards the bottom half of the map once again. 2 minutes left until the next dragon spawns. It is an Ocean Rift this time around, and the more of those you pick up, the easier it becomes for Manui and Shochi to just take these really long fights, to take these really long siege situations, which they already want to be playing it based on their characters.
Yeah, they just want to get a lot of that poke, so the longer it takes for any of these fights, they can drag it out. It would be nice for Cincinnati Fear, and that's why AOE, going back to what we were talking about, you got to continue to accelerate the game. You got to be in the driver's seat. When do we see AOE actually pull the trigger? Because right now it feels like they're afraid.
Yeah, definitely very hesitant, right? And it's hard to dive into the members of Cincinnati Fear when you have a full 5-on-5, but Perry, not afraid.
No, Perry's not afraid, but that's a Shurima shuffle away, and you got to be careful because you put yourself in danger, and that was JJ. It is a trade up the mid laner for support. It's a trade up for Fear, unless, of course, they lose bars like they just did. That's going to be the back over for AOE, as Perry's pretty low, eating some of the honey fruit to stay all right, as Manui wants to chip at some of the members of AOE. But AOE, they're making the call. They could go for the Baron, but that is risky.
AOE, I mean, even as they go for it, right? Remember, Darkwings has a teleport. He can be back relatively soon, but that's a lot of DPS they're going to be missing out on the Baron. They are going to be starting it up. Breezy, waiting in the wings for any potential flanks.
But keep in mind that Manui, he's going to do a lot of damage, and he could possibly steal it. His ult is not up yet. Down to 50%. Trying to go back in with Philip, but he is kited back, and he is bursted down even with the all-out. It's Breezy you pulled back in, the cow, not the person you wanted to take, and that's why they had to bail out of that one. But Philip does accomplish one thing with this job there, with the all-out. He stops the Baron from going over to AOE for now. He'll give his life for ire, but it delays the game.
Delays the game, but that's also now a 5v4 that AOE have around this upcoming dragon, but with such low health bars. Looks like Fear might be able to move over towards it already, but with Shochi on the top side with no real DPS going on to the dragon.
No TV.
And no teleport. It should be AOE in control of the map until Philip is back up.
Well, right now, Fear, what do you want to do? You go on to the objective. They're not starting anything. They're just getting the Scuttle Crab. It seems that both teams are a little afraid of how the other is going to capitalize on maybe a small mistake of the other. That has been quite back and forth for some time here, Josh.
It might continue that way, right? As AOE equalizes here on the Dragon, Cincinnati Fear has not been able to find nearly the same number of fights, right? The last time they actually got a fight going in their favor was when they were hiding in the top lane bush for 60 plus seconds. And now, as they're starting to look for these opportunities, Manui is getting stronger and stronger. Like, this character will do absolute truckloads of damage every single time a fight does line up. And so both teams are very rapidly running into issues where whoever engages first might lose.
Yeah, and as AOE's composition, you kind of drafted to be the one that starts off some of these fights. The Alistar, the Vi, even the Renekton. They kind of want to start off the fights. They don't want to be the ones that have to push back. But Azir, Xayah, they like that. So it's one of those disjointed compositions that you have for AOE. And like you said, for Fear as well, kind of feels like they have a similar story going with some of their champions.
Yeah. So, the big question is going to be, how does AOE break Ziggs, right? Because Ziggs is going to be the character, right? Darkwings has a lot of wave clear, but Minui on the Ziggs, we've seen what can happen when it's in the hands of somebody like APA. Can drag out a game 4 forever. The Ziggs, once they get the Rabadons complete, can actually wave clear against Baroned up minions. Like, you need more than that to end games.
Uh-oh, Breezy is venturing out alone into the jungle, the wilderness of Cincinnati Fear. He'll take a blast cone back to safety, but that puts his whole team at risk. That was a good feather there from Lynx. The all out as well. There's a trade of the cow for the top laner. There's the Shreemer shuffle with Ember's Divide, was able to push back Perry, double kill. Lynx is online. This is the point of the game that you always gotta fear. He's got 3 items and nobody can touch him.
Fear, I mean, it ends up being, you know, an extra kill going over, and now Concept moving to join the rest of the fight, but this is so dangerous.
Concept got the flank. He knows where Perry is. They're taking low, and that's a lot of poke from Minui. Same with Shochi, and like you said, it's very dangerous to go up against both of them.
But another turret goes down for AOE. They're continuing to build up their gold lead. And with such a crazy back and forth fight, right? Oh boy!
Oh! That actually is going to be a big pick. That was a snipe on a Will. Smite gone.
Yeah, and that's just, I mean, that's just free gold. You know, you take it down. That ultimate is on such a short cooldown. At this point, it's up for every fight regardless. And Minui, he's so strong in concept.
Concept dashing away, gets away from the chain of corruptions, even if Perry is chasing him down. Had that pick gone through too, you better bet Cincinnati Fear were on the Baron.
They might go anyway, right? With Will still being dead for 20 seconds, they have the tools. Shochi is here to actually try and DPS the Baron, and I mean, Lynx with no summoners, far less threatening in these fights.
As Breezy has to flash back over the wall, but they have seen this, and that TP for Concept, Dashing over the wall, Magnesaur on to 2 members. One goes golden, that's Darkwings, but Darkwings in a bad position, and he's pulled out, all out there. They've got the damage. Cincinnati Fear, they're fighting back yet again as Lynx dives up into the air, but he's killed off by JJ, and they even get some hamburger meat on top of it all.
Wow, the 1 kill coming out from Minui, just sniping Will in the fog of war. Looks like it might actually win Cincinnati Fear the game. They come over, and a single errant TP from AOE is going to put Fear in a spot where they're going to be able to grab the Turo Baron buff. They will have all the extra tools, and once these guys feel strong enough to actually start pushing, the turrets will not stand. Ziggs will make sure of that.
And this goes back into what we were talking about with Fear, their target selection, how they're all on point. They know when to turn, they know who to focus on, and that nets them the Turo Baron buff.
Let's start moving together. Remember, there's a dragon spawning in about a minute. Cincinnati Fear should be able to pick that up kind of like on their way. You know, you go on the way to the grocery store, you make a stop at the gas station just to grab some snacks. But Cincinnati Fear, I mean, they come in. There's no coordinated way for AOE to come in. You see that they are coming in from every single different angle. And JJ able to jump on the mid laner here of Darkwings. He was set up to be so strong in the fight and so strong in this game, but we have not seen Will, Darkwings, and Perry sync up ever since then. They are just getting pulled apart. Cincinnati Fear looking to close out another game.
Never letting Cerberus actually use all heads at once.
Haha. That's a deep cut.
You like what I did? So AOE now. They were up 4,000 gold for the longest time, Josh. And that gold lead completely equated as the Turo Baron buff is still on the heads of Cincinnati Fear, and there is a lot of gold they can pick up. Even having a tier 1 turret in the bot lane, they can easily grab.
This is a potential overextension for Fear.
Could be. That's a lot of damage, and Breezy, not nearly as tanky as he had thought.
Yeah, and AOE not teleporting. Darkwing still up on the top side of the map, controlling waves. And so Cincinnati Fear, that's going to be the bottom lane turret. The mid lane turret should not be up for much longer.
No, I don't think a lot of these structures are going to remain for AOE. Cincinnati Fear, especially when you're facing up against Ziggs here for Fear. They can topple these structures so quickly with the Baron buff. Just look at this. Bam! Short fuse, satchel charge. They're already inside of the base as Darkwings, you're trying to set up a side lane at the same time, but you kind of forgot about the power of Ziggs.
Yeah, I mean, Ziggs will absolutely dismantle anything they come into contact with. They're teleporting down to try and catch Concept.
Looking for Concept, pulling him back as well. Will did stop JJ from engaging, but they had already gotten the pick as nearly they took the turret down before they had lost Philip too. But JJ actually dying for that play. That means they can engage on a Manui. He can't take the shadow charge. He had to flash away, but that's a big bomb. It does a lot of damage. Shochi's on the other side, but they've already got the pick on the Manui, and there he goes too. Perry, you're alone. You gotta fight back, but they can't have anything when you got a team to back you up, because Perry, he's flashing away, dashing away. They want that one. Shurima shuffle, the auto attack, and the soldier shut down for a Darkwing.
But still, the base is open here of AOE. They have a small gold lead temporarily, but Cincinnati Fear should be losing it as AOE grabs the dragon. And this dive just feels very ambitious coming through, right? They are not necessarily doing everything they need to in order to get things going. There are too many people tanking too many different structures as Philip goes down. JJ tries to get a fight going, but the rest of his team isn't ready to go. Philip is already gone. The top laners are both dead, and
look where Perry is. Look where Perry is. How can he engage with this team? Like, you could make an argument that if he's there with Manui and Shochi, all that damage they can get in that tight corridor could work. But
maybe,
he was so maybe, but he was so far away from the team they will never know.
That's the thing, right? This is what we're talking about. Cincinnati Fear not necessarily being lazy, but the autopilot turns on. They're not able to take the maximum off of the Turbo Baron buff, and now they're dragging over to AOE. And that dragon, if you get the Ocean Soul, that solves a lot of your problems when trying to deal with the Ziggs.
That it does. You can always just rinse and repeat, heal back up. But there is one way to deny that from AOE. And that is set up these death brushes. And Cincinnati's special that I was talking about before, they have a lot of bursts on their side. Doesn't seem that AOE are falling for it just yet. Has been some time since they've spotted out the members of Cincinnati Fear, and now they know that Philip is there. But it is a bad position that they're in. They look at Lynx and how he's positioning at the moment. JJ wants to get in the backline. That's going to be a huge magic storm with him going up in the air. And you got him golden, but look at how low AOE are. They do burst down JJ, but the rest of the members of AOE are still very low. They can't fight back on the fight that could be attempted there from Cincinnati Fear.
He did so much damage in that fight, it just did not matter. Cincinnati Fear, right, we were wondering, is a team that engages the fight just doomed to lose it? That was Fear going for a big opportunity, but the kite coming out from Lynx and Darkwings proves to be too much as they find another fight. And now, I mean, with a small gold lead going over to AOE, the question is, how do they actually engage a fight that they are going to win, right? It definitely feels as though you have to try and play the side lanes. You have to try and find an overman fight once again, because Manui and Darkwings are doing about the same amount of DPS. You just actually throw out so many abilities that you cannot come back from.
I think the biggest thing that's going to be the make or break is going to be whether or not Fear can get on top of Lynx. Because while Darkwings has been doing a lot of damage, he does have that stopwatch, giving him that added safety. All the while, Lynx, Guardian's Angel completed, that is nearly full build for Lynx at this point, and we've talked before at length at how good he is at these team fights, and that's when AOE have found a lot of their wins is based around how Lynx positioned and whether or not he is touched in a fight.
The dive going on to him is not the easiest thing to actually land off the Zaya, right? As long as you have the Feather Storm up, you can usually get yourself out of those. So 2 minutes left until the next dragon, but only about 15 seconds left until the Baron buff spawns. Cincinnati Fear are the ones who are moving up to the Baron first, but the big thing, Manui, very low on mana. It looks like they will be able to complete this stopwatch into Zhonya's most likely. That means that AOE will have members around for the fight first.
Concept peeping into the mid lane just in case. They're a little worried about Cincinnati Fear possibly trying to pull the trigger around that Baron buff. Gives them a little bit of liberty to enter the jungle of Cincinnati Fear and maybe try to control a bit of the vision game and deny a lot of that poke Cincinnati Fear have.
As they start moving in, trying to clear out all of this vision, right? You see how hesitant both sides are actually to pull the trigger, but Cincinnati Fear
looking for Perry. Concept absorbs a lot of the pressure for the team.
Perry can go ahead and heal himself back up. I mean, he's got jungle privilege to play with, but
I don't know
It's
about
mostly
you,
just delaying
Josh,
action.
but I feel like
So-
this is kind of a stalemate situation. between the
Exactly.
two
Not like
teams.
neither team can comfortably engage.
No, and they want, but the thing is, obviously they want to win this game. But with now the inhibitor respawned in mid lane for AOE, they no longer have to worry about a free lane pushing for them. They can sit comfortably, hope that it's going to be Cincinnati Fear that look for the play. Really, it's going to be about who missteps, who gets caught out of position.
When this was the way that League of Legends was played, this was when I was at my best, right? Is when you just constantly were setting things up and asking, oh, who are you gonna, who's gonna engage first? Is it gonna be you? No, nope. Oh, I'm just gonna wait because I was the most patient player you'd ever known, and Perry taking a big chunk, just a couple of auto attacks from Darkwings. But now Cincinnati Fear, they can't afford to trade the Dragon for the Baron. So AOE should have a dominant position in terms of what they're allowed to do on the map.
Look how Cincinnati Fear are positioning. They understand that as well. They're looking for that poke onto some of these backline members. It was Breezy that took a little bit of that damage with the Chain of Corruption already popped by Shochi. But getting him low makes that engage a little bit less likely for AOE. Really, AOE, they're trying to get some of their own poke utilizing Darkwings on this Azir to try to chip down. We're getting to that point in the game where you talked about the Ziggs damage, you talked about the Azir damage. They really are starting to hurt anybody who steps up.
Yeah, Manui can definitely chunk out basically everyone, but Cincinnati Fear, they're actually hitting the Baron.
On the concept, okay, concept is out of there, but like you said,
they're hitting the
that's
Baron.
sneaky. It is 2 members on it, and I don't think they realize that goes down pretty fast. Just the 2 members. It's down so low. Perry tries to get into the pit, but he's pushed back.
Oh,
It's
no way!
stolen! Manui, the bomb, the dynamite explosive there for Cincinnati Fear.
It was such a good start coming through from AoE, such a great blend. They even knocked Perry out of the pit, but it's the bomb that takes it. And now Cincinnati Fear, they're the ones starting up the Dragon. It doesn't get them the soul, but it denies it from their opponents.
The Bomba working out for Cincinnati Fear. They've got the Turo Baron buff as AoE. They're now forced into this fight. Look at how low concept has already been taken, and Breezy having to flash away. There goes your engage. JJ, he commits for the fight, but look at Lynx. They're on top of him. He had to flash away from Philip. Philip is chasing down, and they don't have the carry anymore, which gets free fire to Cincinnati Fear, and they ran out of the Guardian's Angel. It's a shutdown for Minui.
Finally, AoE, they get antsy. They say they want to try and go for the fight, but now Cincinnati Fear, they will recall Manui, teleport him back into the lane.
They're looking for the game.
It's going to be for the game, right? Manui does so much damage to these structures. They have Shochi as well. It's all on Darkwings. He's saved crazier positions than this.
That is true. Darkwings is the Nexus hero, the great Nexus defender, but against 5 members and how strong they are, they just destroyed your Crocodile. It's a huge Emperor's Divide, but it does not stop Cincinnati Fear from taking the 2-0.
Wow, and Cincinnati Fear just taking the game longer than AoE were ready to go for. AoE, it felt like they were getting antsy towards the end of it, just like, oh, we really got to fight this dragon. It's like, you don't, right?
No,
That's the big thing. AoE were not patient enough to take this one down. Cincinnati Fear in both games were able to outwait their opponents throughout all of this. And this patience that Cincinnati Fear has had has gotten them a lot of opportunities. They are now tied with Wildcard in the top half of the table.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on all these old school League of Legends like you were talking about. It definitely felt like a throwback to Season 2 in these last 2 games, but Cincinnati Fear getting the 2-0. We do have an interview that we're going to get to in just a moment, so make sure you stay tuned.
The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. Find your drive. Welcome back, everyone, to LCS Challengers League. I have JJ with me after his victory with Cincinnati Fear. Welcome to the interview, brother. Congrats on the win.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, first thing I got to talk about is that Baron steal that Minui did. I want to know about the comms. Tell me everything about the comms. Who was screaming the loudest? What was going on, man?
Honestly, okay, I don't remember who was screaming the loudest, but probably Philip, because he always screams the loudest. And like, just this team in general, everyone screams a lot. But I do remember, like, as soon as it happened, I started screaming, like, go Dragon, which is, yeah, just on this team, like, I have to scream, otherwise people don't hear me, so, yeah.
It's those kind of comms, huh?
Yeah, a little messy, but I like the hype, for sure.
So, throughout that series, it wasn't the cleanest to say. You ended up In game 2, there was some mistakes, early game, late game. Game 1, there was a little bit of a mid-game blunder. When it comes to situations like that, how do you guys stay in the moment? How do you guys keep your composure, keep focused, and win the game?
I think particularly for today's games, we knew going into them that like we had the better draft, so even if we mess up a little bit, it's okay. And like, for example, the first game, I think the big blunder was like I take full responsibility because I was like, wait, these guys aren't allowed to be here, but they're totally allowed to be there. So maybe that's just a little bit of like rust on my end, on like reading the map and stuff. But yeah, I think generally, like something bad happens, we're pretty calm and confident, be like, okay, don't worry guys, like our comp's still good, like as long as we don't fall too behind, we'll find an angle back in the game. And that's what's been happening usually.
So, who is the voice of Fear now? There was a lot of talk last spring about Trevor bringing a lot of shot calling to Fear, but now we got a different top, we got a different support. What is the new face of Fear?
I think it's definitely kind of mixed. I would say when it comes to like macro, I have like the biggest voice, or in terms of like the little things like lane assignments and like what we're playing for, but people definitely pitch in. I think Manui also like calls quite a lot for objectives and whatnot, and everyone else pitches in a little bit. But I would definitely say me and Manui are the two most vocal people, and then Perry maybe like third.
Do you guys shot call around different things? Like you're just saying Minui for like neutral objectives. What about Perry?
I think Perry like will call when he's looking for angles and stuff. Yeah, I think that's mostly what he's calling around, but I think we all pitch in, which is a good thing, but also kind of a problem, because then, like...
You end up screaming on the comms.
Yeah, we're just all talking
situations.
over each other sometimes, and it's kind of bad, but if push comes to shove and I'm really certain about something, I've learned, like, especially with this group of guys that are all younger, like, I really need to put my foot down sometimes, and, like, last week in one of our games, I literally told everybody to shut up and just listen because everybody was just screaming different things. So yeah. I think it's been nice for me to realize that I can't, well, sometimes I have to do that, but it helps this team for sure a lot.
So, you know, hearing that it's you and Minui who have been very vocal, how's it been playing with Minui? Last split, he was one of our most improved players, at least among the casters. How's it been sharing a lane with him?
It's been pretty good. I think Minui works pretty hard, and he has like, obviously he has a lot of interesting picks, but that doesn't mean that he's bad on like the other meta picks. Like he definitely has his preferences, but I think overall he's been really solid, and we've been doing a lot of TV2s just to like make sure on the matchups that we're not sure about that we can like iron them out a little bit. And also I've been trying to like teach him some things that I've learned from all the other ADs I've played with over the years. So I think he's definitely like, he's already pretty good, and he's like improving at the stuff that he wasn't as good at the start of the split also.
Now, JJ, there have been a little bit of talk, a little bit of rumors about this potentially being your last split. I want you to clear the air on that and tell us what's going through your mind.
Yeah, so, well, obviously I wasn't supposed to play. I don't know if you want me to talk about how I got on the team already, or if we can save that for later. But, okay, basically, like, I pretty much retired, right, last year, and then I was, like, thinking about maybe coming back. I played a little bit of solo queue, but I wasn't, like, seriously looking for a team. And then I had a vacation planned to Spain, like, a few weeks ago. And as I was at the airport about to leave to Spain, Perry DM'd me on Discord, and he was like, hey, are you interested in playing at all? And I was like, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, if you guys will have me, but I'm not going to be back until, like, 2 days before matches start, so... if that's okay with you guys, that's okay with me. And so, yeah, I ended up joining the team pretty much just off of Perry DMing me, I guess vouching for me with the rest of the team. As for it being my last split, yeah, I totally plan to like come back from my vacation and like work at whatever McDonald's part-time job I could find, and until I go back to school in the fall. But yeah, since I got the offer, I was like, well, this is kind of just like a summer job, you know? It's just, you know, a little bit maybe more intense than most summer jobs, but yeah. But also, with the fact that I'm going to school, there's a lot less pressure for me, at least. Like, I think that's always been a big problem for me in the past, where I put too much pressure on myself because I'm like, oh, I have to make it to LCS, or like, I have to like prove that I belong here. But now I'm kind of just like, well, I know I'm good enough to play in here, and clearly it's like it's fine. I'm not like spamming solo queue like I used to, and I definitely have a way better work-life balance. But I think that's always worked better for me. So yeah, it's probably gonna be my last split unless somehow I end up on a team next summer in between semesters or something. But I probably don't see that happening.
Is there any hope for a collegiate roster jump?
Probably not. I'm returning to the University of Toronto, which is a pretty hard school. So my plan is probably just to focus on school in the fall. And yeah, because I haven't been in school in 5 years, so I will probably flunk if I don't giga grind the studies.
That's fair. Being responsible right there. I got the final question for you so we can let you go. Joshi loves to call you Mama Bear. If you could take any other nickname right here, right now, Joshi's listening, by the way, what do you want it to be?
Yeah, so I tried to crowdfund it to my team. I asked what's a better nickname than Mama Bear, and they came up with Papa Bear, Big Pops, Babysitter, Pawpaw, and then Perry said Big Mama, but I don't like that one. I'd prefer Papa Bear, Big Pops, those are okay. The rest...
I like Big Pops.
Yeah, Big Pops is cool.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that one.
You hear that, Josh? It's Big Pops now. Big Pops now. Please, get it right. You got any shout-outs before I let you go?
No, just the team for, putting in the work. We've been working through a lot of stuff in scrims. The staff, Cade, Kiao, Xavier, Leo. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody. And yeah, all my family and friends and whatnot.
All right, JJ, I want to thank you so much for your time and wish you the best of luck on the rest of your season.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, let's bring back the casters so we can close this out because I know each and
Thanks,
every
Big
one
Pops.
of us...
Big Pops.
Big Pops, yeah. We're pretty tired right now. I can see it in your face right now, Josh.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been feeling like pre-sick like all day, so hopefully this has been an entertaining day. The game's definitely delivered, and I can't wait to see what happens with the rest of these guys the rest of the weekend.
All right, let's pull up the standings so we can see how things shaped up after this first day of what is the last week of the first round robin. That's a tongue full to say. I got to stop that. But yeah, there it is. Team Liquid Challengers still staying at the very top, as Josh said, outpacing their former iteration, which is really nice. But for the most part, the big one for me is Team Fish Taco actually being able to jump up a significant amount with their win against EGC.
Yeah, 2-0 as well. It wasn't like it was a split series. They were able to take it 2-0 over them, so now they're actually above that Challengers roster. And definitely a big surprise for a lot of people looking at them, looking at Maryville as well. Up there, tied right there with them.
Not as much of a surprise to Josh after our arguments last week on where EGC would end up.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest surprises are Fear, Wildcard, and Disguised, right? Like, I think that most people were expecting that coming into summer, our top three were going to be Team Liquid, Fly Quest, and Disguise. And the fact that Disguise are currently sitting at 7-7 behind Fear and Wildcard is surprising. And I don't think that's a knock against Fear and Wildcard either. Both of these, I had pegged them as probably our number 4 and 5. So I feel like it's definitely a spot where, considering the veterancy that we have on that roster, I'm hoping to see them continue to improve.
All right, well, we want to give one more shout out to our sponsor. The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car sharing marketplace where you can book any car you want for just about any occasion. Forget about those boring rental cars at Turo.com. With that, I want to give a big thank you to, of course, Josh, Magical, for putting on a great broadcast, Cynthia being our producer, everyone at Rally Cry and Monkey Bubble. It's been a great day. A good shout out one more time to Pride Month. And of course, don't forget to sub because 50% of the proceeds does go to the players. Does go to the teams. I should be very specific about that one. But we want to thank you all for watching. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at the same time because we got more LCS Challengers action just waiting.